Excuse me? Excuse me? What the new outfits? Ah! Ah! Nanda. You okay, bro? I wish I could say yes. Ah! Ah! Dropping a pallet ain't gonna be easy on him. No. 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 What the mongoose? How did teammate get way over there? Or was that where he spawned? Or her? Fuck! Oh shit. Oh no! Oh god. I'm not gonna like this. Whoo! Oh. Oh god. This guy really don't like me. Oh! Ah! Ah! God damn it. Oh. Yeah! Ah. Emanura. That wouldn't come out to me if I were you guys. But oh hey Jess. Ah. Great. Wow, that person has balls, man. Oh boy. Don't screw up, please. Yay! Crap! Just need one more generator done. Shit! No! No! Whoa! Ah! What? No, that was so stupid! Ah! Oh, come on, guys, finish the gen. Damn it all to hell. Nice. Oh! I just need to... Come back and camp me. You suck. You suck. Dude, you suck. Do this. Ah! Fuck off. Damn it. Damn it. Huh. Jane Romero. Backstory. Jane Romero was the daughter of a famous actress, Loretta Lawrence, of whom she had no memory. Her parents had separated when she was still a baby, mainly since her mother was often away filming. Jane was raised by her father, a struggling visual artist. She grew up torn between resenting her mother's absence from her life and admiring her presence on screen. As a teenager, Jane secretly wished to emulate her mother's talent. She would direct and perform in plays, audition for TV commercials, and help her father at his studio. During her senior year, she entered the National Auditory contest and won first prize. Her performance attracted the attention of a radio station that contacted her for an interview. During the live show, her natural charm and repartee impressed the staff, who offered her a part-time job at the station. After graduating college in communication, she quit her job at the station to work for a trendy variety show. But her frank delivery and ad-libs were not appreciated by the show's executives. who fired her after 5 months. Desperate for another opportunity, Jane pitched a show at the radio station she used to work at, only to be turned down, her proposal being too risky. 4 months later, she received a phone call from a producer who had seen reruns of the show. He was looking for a co-host to spark up the failing show, Quick Talk. Live television meant long hours, a low salary, and no stability, but it also offered a platform to broadcast her views. She disputed the crude, inflammatory tone of Quick Talk and pushed for a relatable coverage of personal issues. Her honest delivery resonated with her audience, and within weeks, the show's viewership was steadily growing. After 2 years, she launched a full-hour segment called The Jane Romero Show, which was broadcast nationally and covered taboo topics, including her personal struggle with abandonment. Her show broke records, and her initials JR became synonymous with products ranging from beauty creams to fashion accessories. But Jane needed more. She wanted others to follow in her footsteps. She published a memoir that covered her childhood with an absent mother. Her book was an instant bestseller, but was reviewed harshly. Critics called it a serving of sad anecdotes seasoned with bland, generic self-help tips. Jane took this criticism to heart, since despite her success, a voice in the back of her mind was starting to doubt her achievements. Her success also generated an increasingly demanding schedule and a growing pressure to entertain constantly. During a particular tense week, she canned an episode and instead launched a 2-hour-long special on divorce. Her stress peaked when she learned that her mother had agreed to star in her show. Jane put on a brave face and began the show. Most of it went without a hitch, but when her mother walked in on set, smiling warmly at the audience, Jane's stomach lurched unpleasantly. She was consumed by a violent envy that had been festering. Yet she carried on with a strained smile, until Loretta interrupted her, saying that they were not actually related. The interview went haywire after that. After the show, Jane was driving to her father's house in New Jersey. She needed to talk things over with him. She had not been feeling like herself lately. She turned on the freeway on the coast to avoid major congestion. And popped some painkillers to numb the throbbing pain in her temples, which had been nagging her all day. Then she started to relax and turned on the radio. Classical music was playing. The drive was slow. Black ice covered the highway, which was packed with cars on their way back home. Night fell. A darkness began to blur the corners of her vision and turn the headlights into swirls of red. Jane blinked to sharpen their outlines, but each time she closed her eyes, her eyelids became heavier and slower, until they remained shut for a moment too long. The following morning, authorities were fishing Jane's car from the water. Despite leading a meticulous search for weeks, they were unable to retrieve her body. The airing and production of the Jane Romero Show was suspended until after her funeral, which her father and mother attended. As the public grieved for Jane, there was a surge of orders for JR products, and all her episodes were re-released a month later, with a opening credit that wished her eternal peace. Yeah, she ain't dead. Ashley J. Williams backstory. During a weekend at a cabin with friends, Ashley J. Williams uncovered the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead, and awoke something dark in the woods. Evil possessed his friends, whom he was forced to kill, and his right hand, which he sawed off. For the next 30 years, Ash ran from his past, working at a value stop department store and seducing women in dive bars. But he screwed up. One night while being high, when he read for the Necronomicon to impress a woman, evil found him once more, wrecking the life of those around him. But his co-workers, Pablo, who was raised by a shaman, and Kelly, who was orphaned by the Deadites, helped him put up a fight. While battling evil, Ash was reunited with his long-lost daughter, Brandy, who encouraged him to embrace his role as savior of humanity. After a terrible fight with the fully formed demon, Ash, drawing his last breath, was taken by the Knights of Sumera and transported into the future. As Ash awakened to a voice, his head throbbing. Since defeating a gang of Deadites a week ago, he had been in a perpetual state of hangover. He heard the voice once more, a woman singing, sensual and inviting. Stepping into the corridor in his boxers, he strode toward the voice, which led to the public locker room. As Ash pushed open the door, the singing stopped. There was a rustling of curtains. He called out, entering the change room. His voice reverberated on the moldly tiled walls. He pressed on, reaching a shower that was still dripping wet. Cold, humid fingers ran down his bare back. He turned around. A woman stood naked, her skin glistening in the morning light that streamed in from high windows. Ash recognized her instantly. Linda Emery, one of his former high school flings. They had gotten back together 30 years later, while saving their hometown from evil. He had ended their relationship soon afterward, preferring to indulge freely in his newfound popularity. Linda winked at Ash, who closed the distance between them. He caressed her cheek wistfully. What was she doing here? Did she know anything about the whereabouts of his daughter? And Pablo and Kelly? A sharp blade dug into his hand, making him jump back. Linda slid a finger across the edge of her blade, collecting Ash's blood on her fingertip. She smiled, and her skin shriveled, her hair faded, her shoulders stooped, and her curves sagged. Aging decades older in a matter of seconds, she attacked Ash, who poorly managed to block, being half naked. Every blow she delivered earned him a new wound. She slashed his bad knee, and he fell to the floor. As she jumped on top of him, Ash shrieked in disgust, knocking the knife out of her grasp. Her varicose hand wrapped around his neck, strangling him. Gasping, he outstretched his arm, hand landing on a soap dispenser. He spurted out some liquid on his fingers and poked her in the eyes. The elderly woman winced, weakening her hold, and Ash elbowed her in the face, knocking her back. He rolled over and grabbed the knife on the floor. Just as he was about to plant it in her chest, he stopped. There was something else he wanted more. He pressed the blade against her throat. Let's make a deal, demon. In exchange for not killing you, you portal me back to my friends. The demon agreed. She began reciting the incantation, instructing Ash to repeat after her, which he failed to manage. When nothing happened, Ash threatened the demon, who argued back, blaming his poor pronunciation. Their combined exchange of Sumerian words triggered a hiss from the showers behind them. The wet tiled floor darkened, and the pipes burst. A whirlpool of dirty water showered curtains. and used toilet paper swallowed the demon while Ash held onto a locker door, which slowly slipped from his fingers. Fuck! Ash landed flat on his chest in a realm of the entity, sputtering grass. He got up, brushing off the dry clothes he suddenly had on. Then he looked around and his grin fell. He was the kind of It was the kind of place that made two things obvious. One, there wasn't any bar for miles, and two, he wasn't going to need his shotgun and chainsaw, both of which he lacked. As he started to walk toward a glitten light ahead, a scream rippled through the trees. Nancy Wheeler, backstory. Studious and rebellious, Nancy Wheeler is a stubborn investigator with the instinct for a good story. When her closest friend Barb went missing, she did everything she could to unravel the truth and secure justice. A brilliant journalist, she chases stories and follows leads despite the inequality and chauvinism. The encounters at the workplace. Pursuing a lead one evening, she fearlessly approaches the Hawkins National Laboratory before suddenly losing consciousness. A moment later, she awakens in a strange misty realm with the sound of a familiar roar echoing through the air. Steve Harrington, backstory. Popular and arrogant, yet compassionate, Steve Harrington is an unlikely mentor and leader. He often acts as a surrogate big brother to a younger boy named Dustin. He even helped him find his slimy interdimensional pet, Demogorgon. The Artagon. His reputation as a protector grew, and he soon became a sort of babysitter for a group of kids in Hawkins with a knack for messing around with strange and dangerous things. His courage is unmatched, so that he was even able to fend off a Demogorgon when it threatened his friends. One evening, he received a call for assistance for his friend Nancy Wheeler. He drove all the way to the Hawkins National Laboratory to see if she was okay. He searched the area but only found her notebook. Before he realized what was happening, the ground opened up and a swirl of black mist filled his eyes. When he awakened, he was in a strange place that seemed familiar, but unfamiliar at the same time. Yui Kimura, backstory. Despite her traditional upbringing, Yui Kimura raced scooters in her hometown of Hida, where she earned the reputation of being able to do the impossible with very little. Her father did his best to steer her away from what he believed to be masculine pursuits, but her grandmother secretly shared her grandfather's engineer manuals and notes on a car and motorcycle engines. Yui read her grandfather's manuals and learned fast. She was able to not only maintain her scooter, but she modified the engine so that she could compete with older boys on motor crosses. With her grandfather's good luck, Hajimaki wrapped around her arm, she raced local boys who, unable to keep up with her, worked together to orchestrate her defeat. No luck for them. Yui outmaneuvered them at every turn and became a sensation to all her friends. When it came time to apply for school, Yui gathered her courage and confessed her ambition to race motorcycles to her father. An altercation ensued, and when Yui refused to apply for a proper education, her father felt a great shame and told her she was no longer welcome in their home. With a heavy heart, Yui felt for Nagoya, with the blessings and savings of her grandmother. Nagoya was not what Yui expected. She could only find low-grade clerical work or minor jobs as a hostess. With the last of the money her grandmother gave her, she purchased a racing bike and entered illegal street races where she won more money than she had ever seen. Rumors of her courage and quick reflexes spread like wildfire. Soon, she had the unofficial retinue of women motorcyclists wearing Yui's signature pink, along with a gang following her. Yui realized she had a stalker following her in the shadows. When Yui realized her lucky handkerchief had been stolen from her apartment, she took her concerns to the police, who laughed and dismissed her, saying her stalker was probably a nice guy and that she would probably marry him in the near future. One evening, Yui returned home to find the stalker in her apartment going through her things. He hadn't seen her, and she wasn't sure what she'd do. But the sight of him going through her clothes was too much to bear. She yelled for him to leave. The stalker turned to her with a knife. He lunged at her. She evaded his attack, and he hit the wall and dropped his knife. Without hesitation, Yui had tackled him. They rolled over the ground, exchanging desperate blows. Desperate blows. Yui took more blows than she had ever experienced racing scooters in Shirakawa. With a surge of adrenaline, she managed to overpower her stalker, snatching the knife from the floor and holding the razor-sharp blade to his neck. When the police reached her apartment, they took him away and rushed Yui to the hospital for trauma. X-rays revealed she had broken her arm and foot in several places. It was long before her gang showed up one by one, and together they helped her pay her medical bills. Rehabilitation was difficult, but Yui never gave up, and with the support of her gang, she was ready for the races. Yui's first race after the attack, her gang presented her with a new pink hachimaki with their signatures and good luck messages written all over it. Yui vowed she would help other women with her winnings and influence. True to her word, her gang became known as the Sakura 7 Gang, and they wore pink hachimakis as a symbol of unity and support for women needing help from stalkers and abusers. The Sakura 7 grew beyond the 7 members, and Yui's signature pink became synonymous with women's empowerment. At street races, women would line up in droves to support her. After winning 7 straight races in a row, she attracted the attention of a sponsor. She not only earned a spot at the All Japan Moto Championship, but was the youngest woman to race win in the prestigious event. Her sponsorship soon tripled. So too did her gang. But everything came to a staggering halt at the illegal TK3, Tokyo Kick 3000, street races. Yui was leading the race until she entered the unnatural fog that seemed to have appeared from nowhere. Baffled and confused, she stopped her bike and dismounted. It wasn't long before she realized she wasn't in Tokyo anymore. Zarina Casseur. I wouldn't know. I wasn't gonna say that. I brought this for you. I wasn't gonna say that.